Hey guys, welcome back. This episode we're going to work on some powder coating, specifically for the old Towmotor fork truck. We've been slowly kind of refreshing, but it could be any part that you can realistically fit in whatever curing oven you had. I just got a little toaster oven, we'll see that in a little bit, but if you can snag onto an oven from a house, that's the way to go. I've put 15-inch, 7-inch wide wheels in one of those, no problem, and came out great. So let's do it. All right, here's what we're going to work on. As you can see, we spruced up a little bit here with the air cleaner and air intake hose and whatnot, but I want to get this this oil filter looking a little bit better. So let's do the lid. We'll pull that off of there and strip it and powder coat it, go through all the steps, and you'll see what it takes. All right, here it is off the fork truck. Man, it was dirty on the outside, and you see a little bit of the original paint left there, but flipped it over. Oh, there's chunks of just grit inside of here. So I'm just like, oh, kind of glad I took that off because I hadn't touched it. I just made sure it was full of oil when I used it, but I think it's time for at least a new filter. But you know, gotta change the oil too. But kind of hoping secondary issue here. I was kind of hoping that this I thought this was a bolt, and it's actually got a hex head nut. Can't remember. I think they call that a barrel nut or something. Used to use those when I worked at SMC making hydraulic, or not hydraulic, pneumatic cylinders. But it's got a spring, so it kind of keeps it under tension when you're tightening it down, and it's got a gasket running around the outside here. I think it had been off in the past because there was some silicone on here. Obviously, if we're going to powder coat this, that's going to, you know, catch on fire and make a big mess. So we're going to have to pry that off and come up with something else. But you know, we can make a gasket. That's not really what this video is about, but it's the kind of things that you might encounter if you're going to powder coat something. But the big thing is to get this, you know, grease free, and then you know, get any old coatings and rust off of there, which we're going to do next. Like I said, we got to get that old gasket off of there, and what I'm going to do is, this is just a picking tool for pulling out old rings or whatnot, and you know, you could make your own. It's just got a sharp point on it, so it's easy to kind of stab it underneath there. You can kind of see it's picking it up already, but I'm just kind of rolling it around the circumference here, and that'll free it from its 72-year resting place, and it should pop out. I could just, you know, go crazy and obliterate it, but I kind of want to keep it, even though I could measure this and make another one based on the dimensions. I kind of want to keep the old one. I keep all the old stuff till I don't need it anymore. You can see there's a little bit of silicone on there, sticking it on there, so somebody tried to kind of reseal it at one point, but I want to keep it as a pattern, if nothing else. I can draw it out on some material, and I mean, this, I know you can't see it on the video, but this thing is like a brick. I mean, it's rock hard and dried out, so it was probably leaking anyway, but we're gonna make a new one that seals up really good based on the old one, and we obviously can't leave that in there because it'd probably catch on fire. Now the silicone, interestingly enough, will not. That's what you use to like plug holes and you know, mask stuff off if your powder coating is silicone, because it melting point is a high enough temperature. It's not affected by the curing process. But that's step one of getting her cleaned up here. Okay, I want to get some of the grease and oil off of this. Lots of ways to do that. You know, kind of an easy way for me to do it because it evaporates is to use brake clean. This is we're going to use here in the sprayer here is CRC brand brake clean. It's the I think the 49 stage stuff, but looks like I got a clog there, but it'll work. We don't need a ton of it, so it's not spraying out as good as it should because it's probably got a piece of dirt in there. But that's a problem with these sprayers sometimes, is they pick up a little bit of sediment and it don't want to spray. But it's going to get done what we're doing, and I'm just spraying this in an old cake pan, so I don't blast it all over the garage. Give her a little bit of coat, and we'll wipe her down, and it's probably good to go to the next step. So you got a sprayer like this, whether it's a generic copy like I got right here, or it's a legitimate Sure Shot. One of the common feelings that I have with mine, because I got 3 of them, is this right here. You'll start spraying it, be fully pressurized, but it just dribbles out the end. Well, what happens is something is blocking this little nozzle right here. Now, I use a strainer to fill these things. I'm very careful about not getting any dirt inside of it. I don't know if it's corrosion inside of the tank here, or if it's something that forms from the material setting in there. I do not know, and I don't care. What you got to do is depressurize it. Take this off, get your air hose, compressor, whatever, and blow this out. I mean, I suppose you could get like a welding tip cleaner and route that out, but I don't want to enlarge that hole because, I mean, that's, you know, the spray volume, that the size of this hole in here. But blow that out, hold it up to the light. That's what I do. If you can see through it, it works. When it's clogged and you take it off, you'll hold it up to the light and you cannot see what's going on. Clean that out, put it back on there, pressurize it, it's good to go. Like I said, this is the Chinese copy here. The Sure Shot made in America ones, they're susceptible to the same thing. So don't think these things are junk. Clean it out, it'll work forever. I love them. Okay, after I kind of hit it with the brake clean, I took it in the house and hit it with an SOS pad. It kind of does 2 things. It kind of breaks loose any of the really flaky stuff. There were some, you know, rust flakes and stuff on the bottom here, which we're not really concerned about coating the bottom of this. It's you know, this lip rides over the oil filter housing, so really all you can see is where this yellow paint is and some of the green on there too, which kind of confused about the green, but oh well, it's going to be yellow. But when you hit it with the wire wheel and take the rest of it off there, I got a kind of fine brass wire wheel on an electric motor, and we'll pull it down to where there's no anything, because this will probably bleed through if I try to go over it. The powder coating is pretty forgiving. It kind of works like almost like a primer surfacer thing or something. I mean, it does kind of fill in some of the gaps to a point, or at least the stuff that I have. But you know, I want to give it the best chance, and definitely you're making an electrical connection, as you'll see later when we hook it up. So you know, this isn't going to conduct here, so we need to get it bare steel here and get rid of any of the little remnants of rust and give it the best chance, because it can bridge over some things, but you know, if you got a whole bunch like this, probably what it would do is it would be just all craggly looking right where this is if I didn't strip that off. So we're going to take care of that next. Well, here's the setup. As you can see, the old graphics on there going back to 2005, more like a kind of 90s style there. But hey, that was what was cool in 2005, or maybe 5 or so years before. You know, got the manual, all this little bits and pieces of hardware down here. Those are like silicone plugs, and then we got some high temp tape. That's if you know you got some threads that you don't want to have to clean out later on, and I highly recommend you do plug them because it's just a hassle. That stuff it sticks so well until you get it in a spot that you don't want it, and then it's like, well, I wish it didn't stick so well, but you don't have to get that stuff, and you know, honestly, this is just a chunk of silicone. It ain't a whole lot different than what you pull out of the end of the nozzle on a RTV cap when you're putting your gasket sealant on there. So you know, I bet, and that may be a good experiment, I bet you could pull that out and trim them up and make your own plug if you just needed one or two. But I mean, these are pennies, so you don't need to skimp. That'd just be like a late night project, got to get her done kind of thing. Here's the gun itself. I mean, it's got a trigger set up. You know, pretty much looks like a spray gun, cup gun. It's just the nozzle comes out the front. Got just a siphon set up like a spray gun, just kind of extended out a little bit further. Same deal. Got an air supply coming out the back. You got your powder reservoir down in here. Of course, we got it loaded with safety yellow, and it's got little end cap here, kind of like and I need to clean this because I was using it, but it's got a little bevel on the end here, kind of lets it fan out across that chamfer across there. Then there's the actual tube going around there with these. I think these are called static tubes. These little things are kind of just balanced around this rod here, and that's the hot part, or the electrically charged part. That's what you don't want to touch if you haven't discharged it. Nothing to it, you don't really gotta go crazy cleaning it. I believe they have you in the manual. I have to double check that. I believe they have you kind of blow it out with 30 psi air, but you gotta. This can only handle 10, so that's why I got this regulator hanging off the bottom here. Used to, and it should have a moisture filter on the end. This has been setting so long I didn't trust it, so I basically just plumbed it in straight, and I got a separator on the compressor. So doing the same job. Just need to buy more of these. These are cheap. You can get them if you don't want to wait on Eastwood. I like Eastwood stuff. If you don't want to wait, you can get them in other places. I don't know about the quality of those. Who knows? They could come from the same spot, but these are not really expensive. But kind of get you a stock of those because you don't want to. It's going to affect your powder adhesion and just the job in general. If you're spraying, oil air that isn't dry, definitely don't want to spray oil through it. I just set some of this out here. This is just some different colors that I've used over the years. They got a pretty good, they call reflective chrome. I think that's kind of stretched, but maybe it's gotten better. When I bought it, it was just a couple steps above Kentucky chrome there. If no offense to Kentuckians, but that's what we call it in Indiana. Just the rattle spray kind of silver that looks like the Tin Man or something from the Wizard of Oz. This is sitting out here. I want to show you guys this. This first time I tried it. This was on another part that we're not filming, but this stuff is kind of like good old JB Weld, but it's just one part, and you knead it together. You know what I mean by knead? Just like a baker. Kind of pull a plug of it out and kind of wad it up, and you can feel it start getting warm, and you jam it in there, and it's conductive, because that's the limitation of powder coating. It has to conduct electricity, and by God, it worked. And I found this on a forum somewhere, because in the past, what Eastwood sells, and I have used with success, is a product called Lab Metal, and it comes in a metal container, kind of like a pint of paint thinner or something like that. With a little screw cap. It's metal, rectangular shape. you use that stuff, and sometimes you use thinner, and you kind of put it on like spot putty or something, more or less, and it works really good, and it also conducts electricity. So if you had something, let's say that was damaged, or you're trying to fill in something, maybe a feature you want to hide, it's good for that. I mean, obviously, pure straight metal is the best, but sometimes maybe you got a cast part or something, and you don't have the time or resources to fix that, and that's a good option. That lab metal works great. Like I say, it's for bigger areas, and it's kind of expensive. I think this was less than $10. So if you got a little spot, this is pretty good. It worked for me. So if you're doing this already, powder coating, try this stuff. I rolled the dice and it worked out pretty good. For the rest of the machine here, this is all connected together. You got your house current, get your just regular 110 plug there. You got your ground clamp that we'll talk about later. I mean, it's just a little like alligator clip test lead. That has to be connected to your part. Kind of needs to be in a strategic spot because obviously whatever you're covering up ain't going to get no powder on that. So try to. There's lots of tricks you can do that, and I don't want to go into placement because everything's different. But you get the little control module here. It's got all the cables going to it. You can see the original. When this came out, it was like pretty far out to have that capability in your shop. But and this is pretty much the trigger to go. When you're ready, you're kind of doing two things. You're pulling the trigger on the gun itself, and you got to hold this down. And when it's plugged in, there's a little LED on here. You can see it. This has got provisions where you could mount it. It's got little tabs with screw holes on each in here. And I guess if you built like a station, that would be pretty good. I've just laid it on a table or wherever I'm working at. But some other stuff you don't gotta have, but it's kind of handy, is this little, and this is super cheap, not very accurate, infrared thermometer, and then possibly some wire, maybe to secure the part. If you got something that won't sit on your oven rack or your whatever curing oven you have, these are pretty good. I mean, it's just stainless wire. Doesn't necessarily have to be stainless. Just got to be something that'll survive the curing temp. But really, everything you need to get going, more or less, is in that box right there. So I think I just checked. I think they're like $69.95 for this one. They got an advanced one. Other companies got competitive stuff. I can't really comment on anything, but this old dog that I got right here, like I said, I did full-blown wheels. I had some steel painted Ford Magnum 500 wheels, and I made them look chrome for my old '63 Country Squire. It was I was pretty pleased with that, and getting real chrome ones or getting those chromed would have been a whole lot of money. And like I say, just powder coating in general is pretty nice because it's so durable. And you can see I've got stuff, the HotCoat brand from Eastwood, and those bigger kind of mayonnaise jar looking ones there. On the ends here, these are what I'm talking about. They say SUM on them. That's Summit's House brand of powder coat. And then this right here was just totally, I don't even know where it came from. It's just in this crazy big old double pickled egg jar that I got here. That was the only place that had safety yellow. Nobody else had it. I mean, Eastwood's got every color in the rainbow, and Summit and other places do. But to get the safety yellow, I had to go kind of outside the track and get this. So I don't know if it's as good or not, or if it was me. It seemed like it was a little harder to get it to adhere, but we'll see that, and you'll see the end result. It comes out pretty good. Okay, here's our part on the rack out of my little oven. This kind of works like welding, at least electrically. You got a ground clamp here, or a electrical lead that you need to have it on the part or connected to something that's connected to the part. Underneath this piece here, I'm not going to touch it because this, you can see I've been doing a bunch of yellow here, so it's everywhere. But it's on a bare part of this rack. So it should be connected to that. We're going to find out here in a minute because we're going to spray it on there, and the powder should just kind of, it goes everywhere, as you can see, but it grips onto that, and it's like static electricity or something. I mean, you can knock it off really easy if you're not careful. In fact, if you got lettering or some area that you don't want to powder coat, you can mask the stuff. They make tape that'll hold up to it and plugs and whatnot. But if you got something that's flat that you won't disturb, you can just kind of like wipe it off on the end. It's kind of nice. But I'll show you at the end. You want to do that after you discharge the powder coating gun because, man, you get a zap like crazy. And you might be able to hear it. I'm going to do it at the end and I'll mention it. But when we're done, you might hear it go, and that's the part you don't want to touch. You want to make sure that happens before you touch the end of that gun, because I've done that, put it down and bump the end of it, and it don't tickle, I'll tell you that. So let's get her going here. Like I say, it don't take a lot of air pressure to run this thing. There is a little trigger that you gotta activate. It's kind of right here. I'm holding it in my other hand, but we'll get the gun in here and see what she does. I might have the pressure set a little high, but I'd rather drown it with powder than miss a spot, because it's a lot harder to patch it back up. You see it kind of blows all over the place. I don't know if you can tell or not. I'm really not even aiming it at it. I'm just sort of getting in the general direction. And it's not doing like a 180 or something and hitting it, but it is getting on top of there. Let's make sure we got plenty of it on there. But let's see if you can hear this. I don't know if you heard that little click. Yeah, if that clicks on you, it doesn't feel very good. So we're letting the oven heat up, and we'll put this in there and we'll see what comes out the other side. Okay, here's that little oven. You want to preheat it to 450, which probably hard to see here, but hopefully you guys trust me by now. It's on 450, and it takes a little bit. I use my IR thermometer to kind of verify. If I hadn't said it already, this is kind of an odd duck. It's a pretty big toaster oven. I mean, it's like a baby oven, and can't cook food in it no more. But I think I got it at Goodwill or some other thrift store, yard sale. But man, I bought it because it was good size and it worked perfect for doing stuff like this. And you can get a pretty good sized part in there. You know, you can't lay it on the elements or something, but you know, I got the rack flipped upside down, and we'll get her put in there. And like I say, I did the alternator bracket, did lots of other stuff with it. I quit using it because I had a full-size oven and hadn't used it in a while. Went to do a project here recently, and thing flipped out on me and kind of almost caught on fire. The cool thing about it was I had it on casters from a bed frame, so I was able to unplug it, roll it out in the driveway, and let it self-destruct. But still looking for another one. But they're out there, and you know, people remodeling their house or whatever. You know, they got an oven. They don't care. It don't match the new stainless stuff or whatever the heck they got. You can get it for free. I mean, that's how I got mine. A buddy of mine said, "Hey man, there's one sitting on the curb down from my house, and it was a really late model digital oven, and worked good for years. I don't know what went wrong with it, but probably me beating the tar out of it, powder coating. But I'll get another one. But this whole thing works fine for the little pieces we're doing. You can see it's already getting hot. We'll check her out here in a minute. This is like Amazon type, Harbor Freight copy of a precision tool that has very little But you know, it's better than guessing when you get several hundred degrees. You know, if I was using this in a lab or something, it's useless. But you know, I want to know if I'm getting close to 450. It's pretty good for that. So, you know, I don't want to go through the glass, but we'll go inside the oven and see what does it say. Look at that. 430, 440. You know, that's not directly on the element, so we're getting up there. So I don't like letting this thing run any longer than it needs to. I don't know. I've never played with it long enough to see if the light goes out when it's preheated or not. It doesn't really look like it has that function. It just looks like, you know, this is your intent, 450, and we will try to do it, because it does kind of cycle. You'll see these heating elements, those bars going across there, they'll glow red and then they'll shut off, and they'll glow red and they'll shut off. So I don't know. It works for me. Missed my old oven that caught on fire because it would shut off when I got to the right temperature. But this thing, it works okay. You know, I mean, it's probably plus or minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit or something. I don't know. Better than me trying to tell. I mean, seriously, could you tell 300 degrees from 400 degrees? I mean, both are going to send you to the hospital if you touch them. So I use it. I don't know. Okay, there it is sitting in there. I actually use my welding gloves, my arc welding gloves, or MIG welding gloves to put that thing in there, because the sides of the oven are hot, and I'm trying to push that in as far as I can, and you know, I don't want to accidentally contact it with my knuckle or something, because you know that won't tickle, and you got to kind of be careful. I mean, if you had it hooked up electrically, it should stay on there, but if you bumped it or touch it or something, you're going to knock the powder off of it, and then you got to pretty much start over. So you know, kind of try to be careful. But what we're going for now, I'm going to shut the door here in a second, is we're going for what they call flow out, and it's basically when the powder kind of glosses over, and you know, you just need to check it every 5 minutes. It's not it depends on the size of the part and the thickness of the you know, the section of the part, you know, how it conducts heat. It's basically like, is it heated all the way through? And when it reaches that flow out, then we're going to drop the temperature, and then you do have a timer then for 20 minutes. But let's shut her up here and wait for the flow out to happen. Stay tuned. All right, we got the flow out. Drop the temperature down. Set it for 20 minutes, and I usually leave the door open and let it kind of normalize. I don't get in a hurry. I'll make sure it's cool where I can touch it. There you have it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it comes out pretty good. And the cool thing about powder coating is you can wet sand that stuff, you know, color sand it and smooth it out and top coat it with clear or whatever you want to do. You know, obviously, if you got it coated, it's kind of hard to recoat it, which you can. You can look in the instructions for that actual powder coating gun. You can put an additional coat on it. Some of the coatings require a top coat, like the chrome and stuff like that. Some of the like two-stage stuff, you know, just like paint. But you know, it all relies on that electrical connection. So it's kind of one and done, except for those. But I think the top coats, you know, are really just kind of falling on there by magic, and they're not really gripping like the base coat does. However, the cool thing about it is this works as a really good kind of like primer, really. I mean, they do sell primer, and I have some of it. But if you watch some of the builder shows, they'll powder coat a frame just to get a really good foundation that they can paint over, because it gets everywhere. You know, it gets inside of all the stuff, and it's hard to spray some of that stuff, you know, with conventional means. So they'll powder coat the stuff, bring it back, prep it, and paint it, and because they know that whatever they put on top of it, as long as that sticks to what's underneath it, you know, they're golden, and the powder coat is definitely going to stay on there. I mean, it's not like it's going to chip off if it's applied correctly, and I've never had an issue with that. I mean, the first thing I ever did was just a test pulley that I got, and I smacked on it with a hammer a couple times and didn't knock the coating off of it. So you know, that's another route for you if you don't care for the final finish, because it does have a tiny bit of orange peel to it, which you usually don't care about if you're doing brackets or something like this. You know, this isn't like I'm doing a panel on a car body or something, so I don't really care. It's going to look nice when you look into the engine compartment of the fork truck, and it's pretty easy to clean because it's, you know, rock hard, but it can be your base coat if you want to. Well, all right, there's the end result. Way better looking than where we started if you compare it to the original images. A lot more work to do. You know, the can itself is pretty gross, but we'll work on that when we're ready to take this thing out of service for a little while. I use this thing a lot more than I thought I would, but just wanted to show you what you could do with powder coating and get some stuff done. You can see it's fairly glossy, and like I said, you can top coat that. You can do whatever you want. It's a good starting point. The stuff sticks real well. It's really durable, and I would say I recommend it. As cheap as those systems are, you can get started with the basic one, or you can jump in with the dual voltage one, or you know, I think I may do that myself. I use it enough. I've been using it for over, geez, what is it, like 20 years or something. So you know, don't take long to get a payoff on that investment. But as always, dare to be different. Let's go. Well, that's another one in the can for us. Hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks for watching. Maybe got some tips and want to do your own powder coating projects. Like I said, the entrance ramp is pretty shallow, or not a lot of outlay of cash. What I mean, you can get started for, I think those things are down to 60, 70 bucks or something like that. Mine's worked for almost 20 years. Don't see why they would not last just as long in your shop. Or you can kind of jump it up a little bit and get something a little fancier. Seems like a lot of people are doing it these days, and it's getting pretty common. And as you saw, it's not really that hard, and it comes out pretty good. So, thanks again. Do that homework, like, subscribe, share. I do appreciate it. I reply to all the comments, and I like hearing what you guys think about this stuff. So, let me have it. We'll see you next time on Smith Motor Works.